didn't have management, so I specifically asked for a ridiculous amount of money. I mean, how we would laugh probably. We asked for $500,000. We were like, we want a limousine. We want $500,000. We want this.
Thanks for checking out Party Like a Rockstar podcast. I'm your host, Joel Miller. Today's episode is brought to you by Misha's Kind Foods. They're an LA-based small business making the world's finest non-dairy cheese spreads on the market today. They're delicious and healthy, made from a cashew and almond milk, and blended with various locally sourced fresh herbs, vegetables, and spices. There's no vegetable oils, soy, fillers, starches, or nutritional yeast. It's lactose-free, paleo, keto, kosher, Parev, and 100% vegan. Enjoy the show.
Check, check, check.
Hey, there you are.
Check, check, check. Check, 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 check.
You are checked, my friend.
Hello, hello, hello.
Bonjour. So I have Howie here. Howie Hubberman. You should know.
Oh, God. Howie, how are you?
Good, Terry. How you been, buddy?
I've been good, man. I haven't recognized you with a little goatee.
Yeah, I've had it for a while.
Holy cow, you look different, man.
I saw it on a guy I know, a singer named Terry. And I said, "Hey, I might as well grow one. I can still do that." So
yeah. All right, let me introduce you guys. My first guest is Howie Hubberman. Howie Hubberman funded Guns N' Roses up to the point they were signed to Geffen Records. He managed Poison, but perhaps he's best known as one of the top vintage guitar sellers in the world. Howie started selling guitars in 1969 and is the owner-operator of Guitars R Us on the famous Sunset Blvd. Well, was the owner-operator. My second guest is Terry Ilous. He's the founder of the metal band XYZ and the former lead singer of the multi-platinum band Great White. So I figured to open this up, I would tell Howie some information on Lyon and see if Terry is aware of this information too. So we shall begin here. In 1895, the Lumiere brothers invented filmmaking in Lyon.
Lumiere, that's right.
Yeah.
That's the year Howie and I were born.
Yes, close.
Yeah. The Parc de la Tête d'Or was created the same year as the Central Park in New York City. And the third one, I think, will appeal to Howie and everyone else. But the three of the first 3-star Michelin restaurants were less than 30 minutes away from Lyon.
That's right. They have Bocuse, Paul Bocuse, and Les Trois Gros, and I forgot the other one. But yes, the food is Lyon's the capital, the French capital, yeah, of course, as far as food goes. Yes, absolutely.
Cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fascinating. People are like, oh my God, so great.
But I like my food. I don't know. So from France, what I like is, honestly, it's the simple. It's the cheese and the baguettes. Oh, and the fruit. The fruit in France is fantastic. So.
And the wine.
Oh, of course, wine. I'm not a huge wine guy, but yeah.
It's funny because everyone assumes that Cherry is from France, born and raised, but actually he's born and raised in Hemet, California. People didn't know that about Cherry.
In Hemet? Have you ever been to Hemet, Terry?
Yeah.
Wonderful place.
Is that where you're at right now, Howie?
No, I'm in Northridge right now.
Oh, you're by me.
So
okay,
Howie,
so
what have you been doing all these years?
Music.
Like what? Tell me about it. I haven't talked to you in such a long time.
I'm the owner purveyor of the majority of sound exchanges for smooth jazz artists. As far as the top 18 of the 25, I've partnered up and did stuff with a guy named Josh Gruss from Round Hill Records. And my representative down there is a metal guy named Mark Schulman, who you might know as Mark Ferrari.
I know Mark very well. We go way back. I love Mark.
I just talked to Mark about 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, I love Mark.
But he brought me on board. My roots are with Paul Brown, of course. We started in '79 together at a place called Amigo Studios, where we did a lot of metal records together out there over in North Hollywood. But Paul Brown went on to become the biggest smooth jazz producer, writer, and performer times 10. And he enabled me to do most of these smooth jazz sound exchanges.
Good. Very good.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So, do you remember, Howie, the first time you saw XYZ play?
Yeah, I knew Cherry just before XYZ, but it was definitely either at the country club or it could even be at the Whiskey. I was kind of always a fan. You know, Cherry's a very talented cat. I think Cherry had a bass player named Pat. I think Pat's last name was Fontaine. Is that it?
Right.
Pat Fontaine?
That's my brother. Yeah.
Yeah, and I used to go follow them. In fact, you know, the first band I had on a label called Enigma, I got fired from, and that would be Tom Peterson and Cheap Trick, but it wasn't Cheap Trick. It was another language. I managed to get Tom Peterson back into Cheap Trick, and for the last almost 30 years, my partner who I managed with a band called, and Terry would probably remember Bang Bang, was Julian Raymond. Julian Raymond has been the sole writer, producer, and kind of the label and the liaison for Cheap Trick for the last 7 or 8 albums. And I'm tied to the hip with Julian Raymond. So I never went away. My next project on Enigma was a little known band called Poison. And I even partnered up with another band with Gary Ballin called Hurricane.
Hurricane, yes.
And it's pretty funny because, you know, all these people knew how to reach me if they were on Enigma, needed an extra, both financial and extra connection, because the Hine brothers didn't have it. They had to get it through guys like me, Kenny Ryback, Bruce Mosier, all these guys on radio and record that needed more money than they had. But Terry never fell in my lap. I don't think he knew how to find me, but he didn't know that what I did besides sell expensive vintage guitars. Maybe.
No, actually, I did. I had to tell you the truth. I didn't. I remember you from the stores. I used to go to your store on Sunset, and everybody used to go there. It was the place to go and buy a guitar, and there was no other place like yours. You had the best collection of guitars, and there's no doubt about it. So we used to go there. We used to go there sometimes just to chat, just to talk to you and see what was going on. We didn't buy guitars because we were broke anyway. But your place was definitely the epicenter, I would say, places where all the musicians would go and chit chat a bit. Have you seen Howie lately? You know, I mean, that was the place. You know,
there's a handful of bands both on the East Coast and the West Coast that got signed and had label deals, but they kind of never made it and broke through as far as they could have broken through. And XYZ and Terry was one of those bands. I mean, I followed them for quite a while. There was a Love Hate, there was XYZ, right. There was, you know, speaking about Warrior Soul, there was that band Soul. In fact, I worked to this moment with a band who's ironically on Josh Bruce's label called Buck Cherry. And Buck Cherry has the #1 rock album in the UK, #6 in Japan. And they'll be entering the charts, I don't think this week, but next week on Billboard on the rock charts. But the rock charts aren't what they used to be 30, 40 years ago. The rock charts don't mean that much. So unfortunately, maybe someday they will. I hope they will again. So we'll see.
Yeah. Terry, so you were shopping around looking for a record deal. If I'm not mistaken, back at that time, like you had to have a record deal to do anything. This is before there's any Napsters or anything like that. So if you don't have a record deal, there's no distribution opportunity. And the last one, they gave you a bunch of money and they gave you all the stuff that you wanted, and you got to Enigma Records. And you made it really clear in these interviews I've heard that you were really appreciative of it. How old are you at the time that you get this record deal?
Early 20s, really early 20s. And I remember very well when we went to see Enigma Records, we didn't think they wanted to sign us. I thought it was a joke. So we didn't have management. So I specifically asked for a ridiculous amount of money. I mean, how we would laugh probably. We asked for $500,000. We were like, we want a limousine. We want $500,000. We want this, we want that. And the agent at the time, the representative was Curtis Beck. And he used to write down everything, $500,000, 3 months studio. I don't know about that, but we'll see a limousine. And he was laughing, but I said, come on. So I keep asking and asking and asking, you know. And then he said, I'll get back to you. I'm like, come on, they're full of shit. And then we got a phone call. They asked us to do another showcase at the country club that night. We did a show with Warrant, I remember well. And Jenny was there.
That would be my show then, Terry.
Oh, really? Well,
I'm still partners with Nellie Nebben, who's Nellie Alon, Whoa Nellie Productions.
on Nelly production. I remember.
Nelly's a very successful manager for the last 20 years, by the way.
She is. I know. I saw her not so long ago on the strip on somewhere it happened. But anyway, they gave us a lot of money. We did well. The first album went gold, and after that, we went to Capitol Records, who really didn't know what to do with us. But I remember we were at 260,000 copies sold, and they said you're dropped because really Nirvana was coming and all those bands were coming, and even though we had 260,000 copies sold, that didn't mean anything. So we were dropped, and that was it. But my time with Enigma Records Capitol was very valuable. I'm very grateful, and I had a great time. And for a little foreigner coming from a different country and getting the big shots and opening for Ozzy and Alice Cooper, a foreigner, all those guys, I'm very grateful about that. And I was able to do other things in life because of that. So I still continue doing things. I'm not I have a band. I just did something for Wendy Dio last week she had a big event. I did a thing. So I continue doing that, but now I want to veer towards something else. I'm trying to do a Las Vegas show. That's really what I want. I have a Latin flamenco band, and I'm aiming to sell that to Las Vegas because I believe there's a market for that. And there's a huge market. Vegas is huge. You can't just do classic rock or Vegas is open to anything. So I'm bringing something else, something new, and hopefully someone's going to see that and you're going to say, hey, there's money there. So we'll see.
That'd be cool. So when you came to the US, your English was very good?
Terrible. My English is still terrible.
I don't know about that.
My English was terrible at the time. I didn't speak English, and it was difficult to get a record deal. Everybody was blonde, looking at Bon Jovi, and I'm a short, dark-haired dude, buffed, into martial arts, and I was not into drugs or anything. That was kind of weird, but I learned, fast enough how to adjust. And again, we got signed, and a lot of people that were actually really good did not get that chance. And I'm grateful. I'm seriously grateful.
What was going on at that time in London? Did you guys think about moving to London instead of Los Angeles?
I wanted to move to London because we at the time knew members of Judas Priest and all those bands, so we wanted to move to London. But Pat, my bass player, said something to me. He said, look, if we're not going to make it in the music business, if we become homeless, it's best to be in Los Angeles than to be in London. The weather is terrible in London. I'm like, yeah, he's right. Sleeping in a car in London is terrible. So I said, let's go to Los Angeles. And we moved to Los Angeles, and that was it.
You had said, so your childhood was, you came up from a rough area. You had to be tough. And do you think that was an influence of you wanting to leave and move to a different country? I know you said it was difficult to be a singer, that wasn't so, people thought you were crazy maybe, or they were worried. Maybe your family was worried that, Edith Piaf was already established.
I grew up in a really, really rough neighborhood. They're the equivalent of Watts, or the equivalent of the worst part. You can cops don't even want to go there. That's how bad it is. Police doesn't want to go there. So it was terrible. A lot of immigrants. I grew up a Jewish kid in a or Muslim neighborhood, so that was pretty rough. So I used to run really fast, and I learned how to fight really fast because first thing I did is learn martial arts. Then I became later on the black belt and everything. But first thing I did is how to defend myself. But I used to get beat up all the time too. But I really wanted to become a singer. I did not want to become a rock singer. I have to be honest with you. I wanted to become Tom Jones. My idol was Tom Jones. Yeah. I remember watching an episode of Tom Jones on TV called "This Is Tom Jones," and all these women were throwing underwears at him, and I was like, "Yeah, man, that's what I want," So I do get the underwears now, but pretty granny underwear, so it's not the same. So.
Those come from Howie.
Yeah.
It's funny because Joel's laughing because he's still trying to get a pair of his old underwear back from Tom, but he refuses.
Yeah. I know Howie too well. I know him too well. How many guitars have you bought with underwear stuffed into them, Howie?
Oh, quite a few.
There's got to be.
We bought guitars with Rolexes in the glove boxes already. So,
but I didn't want to become a rock singer at first. I wanted to become a crooner, like a Tom Jones, Frank Sinatra, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that was not the market at the time. When I came to Los Angeles, people said, "You want to be Tom Jones? Are you out of your mind?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "No, it's not going to happen." So the only thing I could do is become a rock singer, and which I get lucky and I did okay. So that's it.
Did you do shows with Poison back early?
We did few shows with Poison because of Enigma Records. Remember, I know the guys in Poison. In fact, I just sent Rikki a message yesterday because I heard he's got COVID. So
whole family has COVID.
Oh, his family or him?
His whole family, and he got the vaccination. He still got COVID.
Yeah, yeah. I emailed him a few times because he's also a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Yeah. And so we have something in common. I do judo, he does jiu-jitsu, but I have the utmost respect for the guys in Poison because and for Howie as well, because he really discovered them and really pushed them when probably nobody believed in them. Nobody believed in them.
Enigma gave him an all-in deal for $15,000. That's why when you told me the amount you asked from Enigma, I had to laugh because by far times 10, Poison was the biggest thing Enigma ever had. They gave him a $15,000 all-in. Whatever you just asked for from Enigma, that's how much money I had to pony up now. Not Enigma, me. Okay.
Howie, I think I'm not bullshitting you, but I think we have the budget was $500,000.
No. They did come up for. Listen, you had a great band, and they saw what I saw and other people saw in the band, and they you lived up to your potential. I guess you dealt a little bit with Tom Wally down there at Capitol a bit, or no?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
They tried to do as best they could for Hurricane too.
Yes. Yes, they did.
It was a similar situation. I think they went to about 250,000 units also. It was, you were on the cusp of breaking. I mean, your band was real good. Your songs were good. You're a great singer, great performer. And, there's something about Terry. When you see Terry perform live, whether he's in XYZ or another project, he's a very likable, very, very talented guy.
Yes, very true. And the fact is, there was a cost when in 1989, 1990, pretty much all those rock bands, pretty much Nirvana was coming and things were changing in the music scene. So all the new bands like ourselves and Hurricane and Love Hate, all those bands, it was pretty much over for us. We're pretty much lucky we sold that many albums. It's a miracle. A lot has to do with our wonderful PR girl, Lisa Gladfelter. We had a great PR. I don't know if you remember how Lisa Gladfelter, but she was a PR girl at Enigma Records, and
sure.
She was a miracle. She was an angel. Yeah. She was an angel, and she did it for us basically because
the single pick that you had, Inside Out, was the correct pick of the single too, and that's what probably brought you to at least your first 100,000 for sure. So
yeah. Well, we're lucky. And then, yes, so Poison, of course, I know them. I know a little bit of Brett. I like Brett because he does a lot of charity things. I really respect that. A lot of artists don't do that. And Brett is the kind of person that gives back to society, gives back to other people, the veterans. And I think as an artist, if you have the opportunity to make it, you have to give back. You have to help other people as well. So I think it's really, really important. And I'm glad he does that.
How did you get into the voiceover stuff?
Oh my God, you kidding? A voiceover, when my career was over, I worked at a bar and it was owned by the mob. I mean, seriously, like serious mob, Israeli mafia, and I used to come there every time. And
on Sunset?
I was on not on Sunset, on La Cienega. And I was about to become the owner of a nightclub. But I'm not going to get into details because it's, I don't want to talk too much about the mob, but I was involved.
How he runs the mob.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Mike Gallum story.
Yeah, it was a serious story. And they said to me, if you want to take over the bar and everything, we can help you and everything. I was scared because I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I getting into? What am I getting into? My uncle in Israel used to be a very famous person over there for that kind of thing. And he helped me out, get out of it. He says, don't sign, don't do this, don't do that. Anyway, long story short, I met a good friend of mine, Eddie Delina, who was a wonderful engineer, producer. He produced Michael Jackson and worked with a lot of different people. Mm-hmm. And he said, hey, they were looking for voiceover to do a thing. So I said, oh, really? I know how to do voiceover. Of course I didn't. So what I did, true story, I sent a demo to the biggest casting director at the time, Barbara Wright. I recorded myself using a little cassette recorder, terrible, doing a little voices like stupid things. I thought that was voiceover. I had no idea. Anyway, and I sang, and I sent her that. And I called her saying, hey, this is David Sherman. I love Sherman and Lippman production. I use 2 Jewish names because everybody wants to, in the music business, oh my God, he's going to be well known. So Howie probably is laughing, but it's the way it is.
True.
So I said, this is David Sherman. So she said, oh yeah, sure, 1 second. So I talked to her and she said, who are you? Oh, I'm Terry Ilous and blah, blah, blah. And she said, I'm waiting for David Sherman. Oh, no, that's me. Let me tell you what's going on. I just sent you a demo. And she said, yes, it's on my desk. I said, really? And she said, what do you think? She said, she was really rude. And she said, it is the worst demo I've ever heard in my life. You have no future in the voiceover business. I said, oh, wow. I was crushed. But she said, but you have a good voice and you sing in different languages. I'm like, yeah. She said, well, good luck to you. All right. 6 months later, I get a phone call from her office saying, this is Barbara Wright. Can I speak to Terry Ilous? I'm like, yeah, right. So I answered. I'm like, yeah, what do you want? I thought it was a joke. And she said, remember, you can sing in different languages like Spanish and French and Italian. Yeah. We're having a little problem. Would you like to come over? I'm like, okay. I went over to a studio owned by Mark Mother. I always forget his last name.
Mark Mothersbaugh from Deville.
So he was producing the track. He was, and they said, we need someone to sing the Gooey Gooey song right away in French. I'm like, really? So I didn't know what it was. So I sang the song, I want a mom that makes me happy. So I sang that for Paramount. Good. And I said, okay, sign here. Sign what? Sign here, your SAG. Oh, really? Okay. And I give them the French version for free. They said, oh my God, you just gave us 2 songs in 30 minutes. So I was SAG and they said, all right. So from that on, I called ICM company.
How did you get into SAG? How were you already in SAG?
Well, because right now, when you go, I was already eligible. But when
eligible. Okay.
I was eligible already. But when you sign with a company like Nickelodeon and all those companies, I didn't know what I was doing. So I called ICM and I bullshit my way to ICM. I said, hey, Larry, because I forgot his last name, not Larry Cracker or Larry, whatever. Anyway, Larry Mill, whatever. I said, hey, I just did a big thing with Barbara Wright and everything. So really? We want to sign you guys. So they signed me. Of course, I had no experience. And I went on and started doing other things for the Rugrats, other things left and right. And here I am today.
Yeah, fun career. I love all the voiceover stuff. I figure it'd be good.
You got to bullshit your way in this business. Let me tell you something. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's not just about talent. It's about being persistent, a little bit of a bullshit artist, let's face it, and being consistent.
That's how I met Howie.
Howie knows what I'm talking about.
Howie's like, who is this guy in my garage sale? I'm trying to buy and shit. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
And you got to be humble and you got to be grateful. That's one thing about it. You cannot be pretentious, but you got to be persistent. Call and call and call and call.
Speaking of being very pretentious, so how many Jags do you have? Because I'm intrigued. So my father was a Jaguar car mechanic. So I made a couple calls today in LA to see if I had any other friends who knew you, who were in the car business.
I was looking at one today, a very, very rare XJR KR100, but a guy just sold it because I wanted to buy it. I'm like, come on, I'm going to go to Grand Rapids and buy it. But he just sold it. It's okay. No, I have rare ones. I have the last 1996 XJS convertible. Probably the last one or one of the last ones ever made in the world.
Music video?
Yeah, this one's got 10,000 miles and not 12, I'm sorry. And it's the last one ever made or last batch. And then I have the same version, but B12. This one's got 10,000 miles and there's only 186 in the world like that. And then I'm looking at the next KE right now, convertible, 74. So yeah, I mean, I love Jags. I mean,
24 is rubber bumpers, right? Yeah, it is. Rubber bumpers.
Yeah. I mean,
that's a Blackie Lawless car.
Oh, really?
He likes those, and so did that girl, the one that was in the Runaways for just a short period of time. I forgot her name. With the blonde hair, used to go out with
Lita Ford.
Yeah, like the XKEs, the convertibles. I like
really?
those.
Yeah, I love the
Angelo from Fishbone had an XKE coupe. That was not. It was nice. It was an early one. It was
he talks about him having 10 and 15,000 miles. Well, what's funny about them, you got to sell them pretty quick because they usually don't last 25,000 miles.
So my father, being the mechanic, he said the best thing to do with an XKE is to take the bonnet off and to hang it in your garage because it's beautiful, and get rid of the rest of the car. But the truth is try getting the bonnet back on the car. It sucks. It sucks.
What I've done with mine, I think I've done 700 miles in the last 4 years. That's about it. I don't drive them.
Yeah,
I drive a Mercedes, so I don't drive the Jag too much. I just look at them. I'm like, oh my god, they're gorgeous. That's about it.
My dad died. I got rid of everything, but I kept a Daimler SP250, and I have that still.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Do you have any parts? You have any Jag parts?
I sold everything to this guy in Texas. He now has the largest inventory of Jag parts in the world.
I know a Jag part. Jagbits.com.
Yeah, XK. Is that Jason Lamb?
Yeah, I'm not sure about his first name, but I know it's jagbits.com. That's I buy from them all the time.
I can give you a couple other people if you want that I know. Welsh is good, and then we'll turn this into a Jag thing. I don't know, but there's it was my whole childhood, everything. So we had XKSS, C types, D type come through, like crazy Jags all the time.
So let me ask Howie a question. Howie, do you still have good guitars? Do you have any good guitars left? What do you have?
700 of them.
You have 700 guitars right now?
Yeah, Albert has 700 also.
Huh.
I remember we sold you our amazing original Charvel, one of the very first one ever made, the Charvel, the one we have in our video. We sold it to you, remember?
I kind of remember that. Yeah. You sold to me like
in the yellow one. Yeah.
I think you sold to me in 90, 91, but it was one of the old ones.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of Charvels in my collection, a couple of them, nothing crazy. I've got one of the original Randy Rhodeses in my collection. I've got a Carina Wood Randy Rhodes, what never hit the market. I'm like, remember I worked and I funded Grover Jackson when Jackson bought out Charvel. So
you're kidding. Wow.
No, that's pretty public knowledge. And before that, it was a company called Hamer with Paul Hamer. So
you know this guy named Sean Clegg in Los Angeles owns one of Randy Rhodes' guitar. You know that, right?
I've heard the name before. There's a whole bunch of people that collect Charvels, especially celebrity-owned ones, and they're going for big dough. Big dough.
He's got the original Flying V, the number 3, the third one made by Grover. He's got the third one. He bought it at Guitar Center for nothing. Some guy came to Guitar Center to sell it back in the days, and the guy from Guitar Center passed on it. And Sean was next to the guy and said, how much you want for the guitar? So he bought it, didn't know what he was buying. He thought it was a joke. And then looked at the numbers, ended up contacting Jackson. He said, yeah, it's the original one. That's the third one we made for Randy. So he owns it. Yeah. Yeah, he said it's worth a lot of money.
There was a time there that Eddie Van Halen took Grover Jackson to court for making copies color-wise of his original Frankenstrat. And those guitars that were made pre-1980 for Eddie. And at that point, I was kind of close with Eddie for one reason or another. And he stopped me. Eddie used to have one of those bathtub Porsches. It wasn't a Super 90, but it was what do they call them? A
356.
356. He stopped me near one of the houses in North Hollywood. And he started a conversation he had with me a year and a half before that in the courts saying, and so the reason why I really sued Grover was because it's like we're having the conversation yesterday, but the conversation was happening a year and a half before that. Next time I saw Eddie, I was with Cece, and Cece was jogging by his house. I just happened to be there for one reason or another. He just Valli Bertinelli just moved out and took a lot of the furnishings with her. And he started a conversation with me that I had
moved into the house with him. Is that the story?
No, but Cece would visit often, and he started the conversation he had with me in 1982, just before the Us show in '83, and this had to be in '96. So that was 14 years later. He started a conversation and finished it that we started 14 years previously. That's how his mind works. So.
Huh.
you talk about voiceover guys, Terry. I don't know if you remember Billy West.
Yeah, I know Billy West.
I represent Billy West in the music industry. I don't know if you knew that or not.
He's a songwriter, right?
No, Billy West is the voice for Space Jam, for Bugs Bunny. He was Ren and Stimpy. He's 8 of the voices on Futurama. He's Cat Dog. He's Doug. He's the Red M&M. He's the Honey Nut Cheerio guy. He's one of the big ones. Billy West is on Howard Stern for 15 years. Yeah. He does well. He does well. So.
Oh yeah.
How many guitars does he have, Howie?
He about maybe 6 or 7. He's bought like half of them through me. So.
Yeah, the voiceover business, people don't realize, is a huge business. If you do well, you can easily make way over 6 digits. I mean, very, Yeah,
he's done good. He's kind of retired, but not really. But in his heyday, when he did, well, of course, he got the call for Space Jam to do all the Looney Tunes stuff. And from that point, he got, Groening and, got him Futurama, which is the same company as does The Simpsons. And he's done a lot of stuff. And he's very good at what he does. Very, very good.
Did you get him the gig, or he got it on his own?
Oh, he got that. I just represent him in the music end of it. So, yeah. He's friends with a bunch of musicians too. He's a well-known guy. And of course, I grew up with a girl named E.G. Daly, and E.G. used to do a lot of voiceovers too.
All the Rugrats. That's her.
Tommy Pickles. Yeah. Other stuff too. She did the second Babe Pig in the City and a whole bunch of stuff that people don't know she did. She's very talented too.
She's a singer. And I saw
she had that song Say It Again, which I brought into the camp for her.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm very familiar with her.
I saw her at the remember the coconut teaser?
Oh, yeah.
I saw her there.
Yeah,
I saw her there. Nice girl. Really good singer.
Oh, she's a sweetheart. She's great. So I knew her whole family, both brothers and her mom. Her mom used to have a place called the Anti-Club. That was her mom's place.
Wow.
So that was kind of like the coconut teaser, but further down the road. So
when you guys first,
go ahead. Sorry.
No. Say what you have to say, Terry. It's okay.
Are you from are you from LA, Howie, or just where are you from?
New York.
I'm from upstate New York. I'm from Rochester, New York. I grew up with Louis Graham Matico, who you know as Louis Graham, which ironically, I worked with Hurricane, who the singer for Hurricane for the last 15 years has been the singer for Foreigner.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
great gig. He did very well for himself.
Yeah, he's a good singer. He's kind of like a singer on the level of Terry. I mean, Terry's got this voice that can just melt into any kind of a great vocalist. That's why he can go ahead and do stuff for Great White. He could certainly walk in and do, I'd name a million bands that are missing a singer right now, and he could just walk into it and fill the shoes and fill it well. So,
what about doing a crooner album now, Terry?
Actually, I just recorded My Way, believe it or not.
Awesome.
It's my mom's favorite song, so I decided to. My mom is old, unfortunately, she's 90 almost. So I wanted for her to listen to that song, and when I sent it to her, and all those Italian singers like Tony Bennett and everything, people don't realize, but they are extremely talented singers. It's very difficult to sing Frank Sinatra. It's really, really difficult. I mean, it's not just the range; it's the phrasing. It's not easy at all. Those Italian singers were just phenomenal,
I was with a couple friends last weekend. They play with Frankie Valli. He's still doing.
I was just going to mention him.
He's still doing shows, man.
He's 81 or 82 years old.
86 or 87.
Is he 86?
Yeah, he's older.
When you're that short, you don't age very much, right, Jerry?
Yeah, wait a minute. You and I are short, dude. You're short too.
I'm short too.
I'm no giant, I must say.
Yeah.
I'm no giant. So you guys are kids. You get your record deal. You basically just want to party. I'm assuming you moved here to party. It sounds like. How crazy were you? Because my friend, I told you on the instant messenger there, we shouldn't say, but he toured with you. He said that you guys were crazy. But I don't know what year he was touring with you. Do you know who this guy is?
Yeah, we used to steal everybody's girlfriend and everything. It's I've changed. Put it this way, these were crazy times, and the 80s were just like I was a little boy in a candy store, pretty much. And you know, I don't regret, but now that I'm older, looking back at it, I'm like, God, I can't believe I did all that. It's not good, man. So
Yeah.
it's not like some people say, oh my God, I found God, whatever. No, I didn't know I was supposed to look for him. But anyway, I just believe that you do things, crazy things when you're a young kid. And as you get older, you become a more of a mature man. You have to evolve and become a better person. And now I have a daughter. I have a beautiful 15 daughter, and I want to set up the right example. I don't want to be that little wild, crazy boy. You know, I don't want to do that. And I want to show her the real. I want her to see that her dad is a man, not a little boy.
Although I have a story to share, and maybe Terry will remember this, and maybe he won't. I used to manage a band back in '89 to '91 called Nitro.
Oh my God! Of course I remember.
And we played a place in the Carolinas. I think it was North Carolina, and there was an ex-boxer who had 2 nightclubs up there. His name was Rocky.
Okay.
And I don't remember the name of the 2 nightclubs, but one of them was outside. He was doing outside shows. And you either followed us or we followed you, but you did real good. You had a big crowd. It was in the one, it wasn't Charlotte, but it was the other North Carolina. It was probably, yeah, it was set up for 1,000, maybe even 2,000 people. And I'm telling you, even though we were there on different days, it was the same week. And we're all partying with the same girls. And I'm telling you, we heard stories about XYZ. So,
yeah, well, yeah, I'm not too proud of it. But
no, good stories, not bad stories, good stories.
Yeah, I'm a reformed guy, and you know, I'm looking for. I want to set up the right example nowadays, and you know, I tell you the truth. Once I become a parent, things change for me. All of a sudden, I became. Since now I have a daughter. I don't know. Do you have any kids, Howie?
I have a 38-year-old son, Reese, from my first marriage.
What about you? Do you have any kids?
And he lives right next door to Norm's Rare Guitars.
Oh,
on Ventura Boulevard in Tarzana.
Once you become a parent, you want to set up the right example.
It is different. You're right. Yeah. So.
Howie's a good dad. You've always, I don't know, you always speak highly of your son.
Yeah, he's a good kid. He's a good kid. You've got a couple kids, right?
I have one that died at birth, and
sorry.
Yeah, and then I have a daughter that's 15. She's adopted. Adopted her when she was a year and a half with her mom at the time. We went to China actually to adopt a little girl, and it changed my life. Now that I'm a dad, I mean, I'm like, wow, it's a beautiful thing, and that was the best thing I've ever done in my life. I would say, if I have to go tomorrow, if I'm gone, then the only thing I'm going to remember is not the gold albums, or not the money, or the Jags, or the Ferrari, whatever. What I'm going to remember is my daughter. That's all. I'm going to say, wow, I did something good. I did something very good, you know.
It's funny being in the music business and working with as many artists as I've worked with on one level or the other level. There was a Def Leppard, Poison, Cheap Trick show, and I get a text and a picture from the road from Tom Peterson and CeCe DeVille,
right,
saying just simply, "Hello from your sons." So,
oh my God.
Pretty ironic because Tom is about, I would say Tom's about 5 years older than me.
Yeah.
And CeCe's about 5 years younger than me. I'm 66. I'm 66. So
yeah, that's kid that CeCe has any kids? No.
Yeah, CeCe has a kid, Valen, and Valen now is probably almost 14 years old.
Oh, wow.
I think that's when CeCe started to chill out for real, like for a while, right? Is when he had his kid.
CeCe still's doing great, clean and sober for quite a while. He's doing real good. He's a good dad too. I know that for a fact.
He's a great guy. He's always like, "Hey Terry, how you
doing?" He had his Corvette that he would never take the Corvette out. He drove that crappy little, was it Acura, I think? Remember, a Honda? I think it was a Honda Accord.
He's
All
one
I
of the
know
guys.
is we took a ride in one of those Shelby wannabes up
Now
the
he has
road,
one.
and we're
Yes.
followed by Buddy Mavers, who owned Conway Studios, and Rick.
Yes.
Who's Rick? The producer. Rick.
Rick
What's
Rubin.
the last name again?
Rubin.
No, Rick, the producer. He produced the record label, Rick Rubens. Yeah, and we're all
Rick
going
Rubin.
up the road, and CC never made it up the road. We hit the wall going up Sunset Plaza Drive. We hit one of the walls.
Oh, yeah. No thanks.
Yeah.
You been into a car accident with any of your cars, Terry?
I'm sorry.
Have you been into an accident with any of your cars?
No, thank God, not so far. No, nothing. I drive like a grandpa.
We try to stay away from those, right, Terry?
Yeah, I don't drive the cars. I just look at them. So I don't. They're okay. You know, they're in my garage, and I look at them. I'm like, you're beautiful, baby. You're so good. They even have names. I named the cars. Different names and everything. Oh no.
What do you name it? What do you name them after? After vocalists?
No, after my daughters, different names. And my daughter has different names, nicknames. So I named the cars after my daughter. This one's Billy. This one is this one. And then I just look at them. That's all I do. I just don't drive them. They're so beautiful.
Speaking of kids, so I was going to put together this podcast, and my friend's daughter, she's in 5th grade, and she said, you need to ask all the people when they first felt famous. And I like the idea of the question. So it's not really when you first felt famous. I think the idea for an adult would be when you first felt like you had achieved something, you were on the right path. There was a moment in your life where you just smiled from ear to ear, knowing that you were successful. Some key ingredient that is a good moment for you.
I think for me was well, thank you. It's a good question, actually. For me, there was 2 moments. The first moment is when I realized that I was famous. I went to the Grammys, and then I went to the MTV Awards. And that was a big moment for me because, people were paying attention to me. I was like, oh, wow, it's amazing. And the second important moment in my life was when I realized I was no longer famous. And then when I realized that I could not get in any clubs in Los Angeles because nobody knew who I was anymore. When I went to a club and I said, hey, my name is on the list. And people say, nope, I don't see your name. And I'm saying, whoa, I'm Terry Ilous. I used to be with Ed. So, and then that was like a harsh reality. I'm like, wow, that's here today, gone today. So that was the harsh reality. I think for me was being famous and completely falling off. And that's what I stay humble. That's why I said, all right, stay humble and continue on your path, continue doing what you want to do in life. And remember, there's other things besides music. It's not just about being famous. It's just, there's other things, life is a beautiful thing. Being alive is a beautiful thing. It's such a beautiful thing. I mean, every day you wake up, you're like, thank you, God, or the universe or whatever you call it. Every day. But even if we get older, I would say that getting older is actually a privilege. Wouldn't you agree, Howie? It's a privilege.
Absolutely. So,
well, Howie did this whole health kick thing too. I mean, you're a pretty healthy guy, Terry. So what, Howie, you started losing weight. It's got a long time.
When I got off the road with Poison
Thank you.
back in 87.
You're famous again. Yesterday was different. Right, Howie, what do you got?
I was 240 pounds.
Yeah,
and I'm not very tall. So I took off 100 pounds real quick. I was at Guitars R Us, and I just did something on MTV with Poison. And a little girl walks into the store to buy a guitar for her boyfriend. And I looked at her and I said, did anybody ever tell you you look a lot like Martha Quinn? And she looked back at me and she goes, have you ever met Martha Quinn before? I go, yeah, I was with her 2 months ago with Poison in New York. And she looks at me and she goes, Howie Hubberman? I go, yeah. He goes, aren't you like a lot thinner? I go, I lost 100 pounds. Yeah. And we hung out that week together. We went to, do you remember the Red Light District where now they do the Jimmy Kimmel show?
Yeah.
On Hollywood Boulevard.
No, I don't.
We hung out. We went to a couple of shows because I know one was a Billy Idol show. One was the Jack Kinnison thing. It was pretty funny. The Spice Club. It was called Spice Club.
Yeah, Spice Club.
Yeah, I
Yes,
remember
yes.
Spice
But
Club.
they had the Red Light District and they had Starlit Letter. They had a bunch of clubs there. We hung out for a week. We went out for 2 or 3 nights together. It was a fun time of my life. But going back to when you know you're famous, and I'll tell you when it is, and Terry will find this out later in his life. Terry, I think, I won't say how old you are, but I know you're quite a bit younger than me. I'm 66, and I had to do a eulogy about 3 years ago for a good guy that I used to finance. His name was Jerry Heller, and I know you don't know who Jerry Heller is, but Jerry Heller is the West Coast godfather of rap and hip hop. He was portrayed in the movie Straight Outta Compton. He used to manage, and he put the money in the financing behind NWA, Ruthless Records, Dre, et cetera, et cetera. So as I'm doing the eulogy to 400 people, the next guy to do the eulogy, I'm short, but the next guy was a midget compared to me. He gets up and he does the eulogy, and I get off the thing, and someone comes up to me and goes, "Who is that short guy that did that eulogy right after you?" And I go, "Are you serious?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Irving Azoff."
Oh,
He goes, "Who's Irving Azoff?"
Oh God,
And
are
I
you
go,
kidding?
"Oh, no, I'm serious." So I go,
wow.
"Oh my God, somebody that recognizes me, but doesn't recognize Irving Azoff."
Yeah.
Oh my God. So, but it happens. It happens. So, hey, who booked
Irving Azoff.
XYZ?
No, we were signed to Monterey Peninsula.
Okay, because Troy was still ICM at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, we were
So-
signed by Monterey Peninsula, and then there was a great agency, and then we did a lot of tours with mostly Foreigner. We did a lot of things with Foreigner, and Nugent, Alice Cooper, Ozzy, and then we went on our own, and we were smart because we collected money. We had a credit card from the label and from Capitol, and we budgeted everything. The tour bus, we were managing everything. We were micromanaging everything, the tour bus, the rooms, everything. So we were making money on the side. When everybody else used to go to the nice hotels to look impressive and everything, we used to keep that money and sleep in the bus and say we just save $150 a night. And then we take a shower at the venue, you know what I mean, after the show. So every night we were making $150, Pat and I were sharing the money, 75, and then that's the way I survived for a little while, because we did okay with that, because when fame is over, fame, I mean, nobody knows who you are, nobody cares about you. It's that simple. This is a very harsh business. People should realize that you're here today, gone today. And so while it lasts, appreciate it. Don't be an asshole to people. Be humble and be grateful and say, you know what? It's a beautiful ride. Thank you for the ride.
Do you think
Terry, do you know where
asshole
Poison
when
used to keep their money?
I'm sorry?
Do you know where Poison used to keep all their money?
No?
In my left pocket.
Wow.
They had that much? They had that much money? Did you have
No,
big
that
trousers?
little money. That little.
Yeah.
So
Is that because you were living in strip clubs and you kept the money because the strippers stayed away from you, or?
we were living anywhere we could live.
Yeah.
We stretched it. We made it work. So
Do you think you were
I
an
do
asshole
know-
when you were a young guy and you first got signed, Terry? Is that why you say stay humble, or no? Were you always pretty? You knew where your head was.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, of course, I'm sure there was a time where I could have been an asshole to somebody, but overall, I was pretty humble because I come from a poor family. My parents don't have money, so I was never.
What did your
exposed.
parents do for work?
My mom, they had a little store, like a retail store that didn't do very well. My parents were divorced. My dad was a guitar player who never made it, and then he was struggling to make ends meet. And he was a good man. He was a disciple of Django Reinhardt,
fantastic.
the jazz guitar guy. No, I come from a really low class middle family, but one thing we had in our family is values. My parents I grew up Jewish and my parents were very religious and everything, and values, family values were very important at home, and respecting other people. And those who have less than us, we used to invite them at home and share the meal with them. I know it sounds religious, but it's the truth. It's the way my family was. And I think it's important to stay humble. It's just, believe me, doesn't matter how much money you have. In the end, you're still gonna go in the same hole, and you're not gonna take any money with you in your pocket. So even if you have $20 million, you're still gonna die the same way. You know, one day you're nobody. So
Did you ever think about maybe moving back to France?
absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't like the political climate over there. Absolutely not. I do not like the government over there. It will never ever happen. Not in a million years.
What about did you spend time in Barcelona as a kid or not so much?
Yeah. But
Barcelona is a very nice place to live. It's such a pretty place.
Well, my parents have half Spanish, half French. So I like Spain. I love Spain. I love France. I just don't like the political climate. I don't like the way it goes over there, the racism, all this BS. I'm not into that. I'm very comfortable in America. I came here 32 years ago, and I believed in that country. And 30 years later, I'm still in love with the country, even though I don't always agree with political statements or whatever. I still love the country, and I still love the people here. Overall, it's a better country for me to be.
So, important question here. You're a vegetarian, aren't you? I think, Terry.
Meat. I'm not a vegetarian, but I don't eat meat.
You don't
I don't
eat
eat meat. No meat.
Okay.
I eat.
So, as a Frenchman, where do you buy your cheese?
Well, there's a couple of good places around here.
Yeah, tell me, what do you have? What do you got?
Well, in North Hollywood, there's a place called Epicure, which is the best place to buy the cheese. Because they're non-pasteurized. You're not supposed to buy them like that, but they're non-pasteurized, and Epicure is the place to buy the food.
Okay, I have to look that up because I'm in Tarzana now. That's close.
Oh, dude, I can hook you up with them. We can go together.
Let's do it. I'm in. So we went to North Hollywood it was my girlfriend's birthday. We went out to North Hollywood. We used to go to a place called the Tonga Hut. You ever been there? I think I took you there, Howie.
I was there with you. That's right by one of the houses I got.
Howie's not a big drinker, but he'll come and hang out. So
no, I'll drink now and then. I don't have a problem drinking.
Okay, I've never seen you drink more than a drink, maybe. But
I don't drink. I hardly drink. I drink maybe one glass of wine and every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. That's about it.
Also, it's like you, Howie. I don't know. I could get Howie to get me maybe one beer with me, but he won't do more than that. So
yeah, I'll have a mixed drink. You know, it's like I said. And the thing about Terry's doesn't eat any meat. Myself and Joel, when we don't want to eat any meat, we go to a place called Hoggly Woggly's.
Yeah.
And we have ribs and stuff, but we don't have any meat. Oh, there is meat on there. It's meat and bone. Okay.
I'm terrible.
Don't get me wrong. I love meat. I love a good steak. I love sirloin steak. I love everything. I just don't feel like, I don't like the way I love the animals. I feel bad for them. I'm like, nah, I think I'll pass on it,
So I was in New Zealand. I didn't know that lamb was like baby sheep. I never knew that. Yeah. So they tell you that. I'm like,
the best.
I don't want to eat that anymore.
Comes from New Zealand.
Yeah, but honestly, when we were there, they have a lot of cows now. It's not like it used to be. There's a lot. I think there's more cows than sheep now. Maybe, I'm not sure. And a lot of goat. We had a lot of goat.
Goat. Yeah. I refuse. I was recently living at a place in Tarzana, in fact, on the south of the boulevard. And we had a goat, we had sheep, we had everything, and those animals were so cute and so nice. I just don't feel like killing them and eating them. Sorry. But I get it. If somebody wants to, good for you. It's your thing. It's like somebody talking about getting the vaccine or not getting the vaccine. Good for you. I mean, I don't care. Just bottom line is I will not eat meat. That's all.
Yeah. Well, I guess when you're singing for a band called Great White for 10 years, maybe you eat enough meat.
Yeah, I don't. And those guys, I remember.
Was that a good analogy? I don't know if that made sense, but in my head it did.
They love meat. I mean, I remember eating with Audie and Mark. They love their steak. I mean, well done. I said, nah. We used to eat a lot of meat. Yeah. In fact, back then I used to eat meat with them actually.
So guys, here's something interesting that between the three of us.
Yeah.
I know at age 13, I was bar mitzvahed. Terry?
I was, absolutely. Are you kidding me? I used to be
and Joel? Joel?
Absolutely, yes. Oh, yeah. It was a big deal.
When we were bar mitzvahed and we were 13 and we're sitting there with the rabbi,
yes.
Did either one of you ask yourself the question,
right,
where do I go from here?
Are you kidding? I used to have a serious guilt in my life because I used to be very religious. That's the thing about me is I went to
Chabad when I was little.
I went to Hebrew High. I went farther in Hebrew High than I did in regular high school.
You went to Chabad, Terry?
No, but I
No.
actually kind of in France, I was part of the very religious movement, and my parents wanted me to be religious. And I had this conflict of being naughty and religious. So I was like, it's kind of hard to be naughty and religious. I said, can a rabbi be religious, be naughty? No, he can't. So I'm going to be naughty. So I didn't do it.
So I did this interview for my book. I wrote a book, Terry, and I did this interview for my book with my friend now. His name's Darren Paltrowitz, and he writes for the Jewish Journal. And so he said, how come like the one guy you toured with that you didn't get along with was Jewish? I'm a who?
Who is that?
I'm a who? Yeah, who was that? He goes, Kevin Dubrow. I'm like, oh, yeah. I wouldn't hold it to heart, but yeah, we didn't really get along so good. So it was very funny. He gave me a hard time about that.
Kevin was pretty wild.
Yeah, it was stupid stuff. Yeah, it was dumb. He was giving me crap about nothing. It was stupid, but it was funny that he noted that.
He was a nice guy. Kevin was a nice guy, and he had a strong personality. You know, I mean, it's good. You know, he did very well for himself. You know.
Yeah, he was a good singer too. He was a good front man. Actually, he was good.
Good
Terry,
businessman.
did you ever front Quiet Riot for a period of time?
No, Frankie asked me to join the band. Frankie went to my house and asked me to join Quiet Riot, and I said yes. And for 1 week, I didn't hear back from him, and I was like, what's going on? Finally, he called me and said, Terry, I love you, but you're not the right guy. We want someone with more of a raspy tone and everything. And I said, great, no problem. But at the same time, I got a phone call from Great White who said, Jack is ill. Would you like to replace him for a few days? And I said, okay. And then 1 day, 2 days became a week, 2 weeks, a month. And then finally they said, would you like to join the band? I said, sure. I mean, it's a great gig, you know. And that was it. But I never joined Great White thinking I would join the band. I mean, I was just a replacement for 1 year. I never thought anything else. I said, I think they're probably going to can me tomorrow morning or tell me Jack's coming back, which, by the way, Jack is a great singer and is a friend of mine on top of that. I never thought of stealing the gig or anything. I was just a replacement. And then when I started writing songs with Mark, and Mark said, I like the way you write. So we did 3 albums.
Yeah, that's good. Is there any bands from that era that you would love to sing with?
You know, I love Foreigner. I'm more of a Foreigner type of guy than heavy metal type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
I love Foreigner. There's so many great bands. I love Sammy Hagar. But of course he's a great singer. No, I mean, you know, I'm happy to be. I got to be honest with you. Today I do my Latin flamenco thing. I'm aiming to do a show in Las Vegas.
What about you and Steve Stevens? That would be really cool.
Steve is great. He's a really good guitar player.
That would be a killer album.
I don't know him. I don't know him well enough to approach him. But really what I want to do is this Latin show in Vegas with dancers and everything. And I believe in that. And that's what I want to do. I'm still going to do rock.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm still going to do heavy metal and stuff for the fun of it. But my heart is into a show right now. And I want to sell the show. And I believe in it. I believe it's going to make a lot of money.
Oh,
and if it doesn't, it's okay. I believe in it.
So you've been selling, I saw online, you've been selling lots of CDs and stuff. It must make you feel good because you're selling that stuff out like literally immediately.
I sell, actually, I have a great lady who works for me, and we bought a lot of the old albums from XYZ, from the catalog, things that were left over. We bought them all, and we're selling them online, and it's like crazy.
Crazy. I've watched. I mean, it's like an hour later, and you've gotten rid of the records. Man. You sold those records in 24 hours.
It's like that. It's like that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I have Valerie is a wonderful, smart lady, and she's helping me, and I'm grateful.
Well, très bien. Well, I don't want you to be late for judo.
I get judo tonight, yeah.
Yeah, we need you to stay tough. So
here's something interesting for Terry. Terry, you know the singer for Nitro, Jim Gillette?
No, he's a great singer.
Do you know his affiliation with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at all?
He's a black belt.
No, he's not a black belt. But he's the one that trained. No, not even close. But he's undefeated in his unlimited weight class for an amateur. He's a master amateur, which is over, I guess, the age of 30. is a master hammer. But at one point, he never had a point scored against him. He also trained a guy named Royce Gracie for the Aki Bono fight, because when he trained Royce, Jim weighed 300 pounds.
He's a big guy too. He's really tall.
On his island, which he owns still, with a house that he built with a woman named Lita Ford, who Jim has 2 kids with Lita, who I represent, both kids, who are now 18 and 22 years old. They're both MMA, and they train many disciplines. Jim trains, or was training, all the police officers in northern Florida, his disciplines for combative duty. Jim had a health scare recently, and he's back in the gym. But Jim used to train at all the Gracie camps, et cetera, et cetera. But more than that, Jim's a study on the start of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And of course, we're talking about Julio Gracie, but the Valente family from Brazil. So if you ever want to get straight on the real story of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you can ask Jim Gillette.
Oh, I've talked to Jim a few times. He's a very interesting guy. First of all,
he builds houses now mostly.
Really? He was a very, I don't know about his voice now, but back then he was an extraordinary singer.
Yeah, and, I mean, he's when you have a voice like that, you can't keep it up. You know that. And he can sing still, but he's not going to be able to do the crazy Nitro stuff he used to. That was pretty crazy what he used to do. So,
it was like, oh, wow, relax, dude. But I like the fact that he does sports, and we have a lot in common, him and I, except he's 7 feet tall and I'm 5 feet tall. So
well, both his kids are right around 6'3", 6'4" right now.
Yeah, he's huge. I mean, Jim is so big. I mean, I'm like,
you know what? There's not a lot of foot space in a lot of English cars, Terry.
That's right. Yeah.
Believe me, Jim's daily car is a pickup truck.
Jim lives in Florida, right?
Yeah, he lives in Panama City Beach. I just headlined the outdoor, the Smooth Jazz Fest there. I had me and Nelly manage a guy named Norman Brown, multiple Grammy winner Norman Brown, and we headlined that Saturday night out there. There was about 50,000 people during the 3-day event there. We had a lot of fun, but it was Jim joined me with his kids and everyone else on the island. It's not an island, but on the beach there. It was pretty fun, a lot of fun. It was just a couple of months ago.
Good.
Oh, was this on your birthday trip?
It was my birthday. I did sound for 20,000 people for my birthday out there. I did sound. So
cool.
You're a trooper, Howie. You're a true trooper. You're like
I enjoyed myself. I even paid my way out there, $160 round trip airfare. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So,
well, all right.
Okay, guys. I'm going to take off right now. I got to go into show a very famous guy, a very famous guitar. Terry, it's nice catching up with you. Like I said, I've always been a fan. And I've always, followed you, whether you knew it or not. I always told people there's a band that, even though they did do pretty well, they probably should have done better. And I said, the reason why is the singer. He's got intestinal fortitude. He's got talent. And he don't take no for an answer. The fact is, only go as far as the people that surround you. And sometimes, it's not a bad thing. The people that were around you, not a bad thing. But sometimes you don't get that extra kick or the extra luck you need to be the mega sensation that you probably deserve to be today. And who knows?
I'm looking for a manager right now. I want somebody to take this project that I have.
I got my hands full. But the fact is that I do mostly music stuff. And the only reason I got involved with Norman Brown, because he really needed a manager. And I went out and I stepped the 9 yards in his direction. And time will tell if it was a good choice or not. We'll see.
Howie, I'm going to get your email address and I'll send you some
Absolutely.
stuff.
Listen, Joel's got everything.
Joel,
like I've known Joel now. Joel, we've known each other 25 to 30 years.
No, I'm only 44 years old.
I've
known you for a really long time.
25 years?
well, Poison days, right? So
Yeah.
20,
30 years.
23, 24, 5. Yeah, a long
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
I'll send you both some stuff. I just did something for the Dio Foundation for the
guys, I got to put you down. I've got to talk to Joni Mitchell, believe it or not. Let me call you guys back. Okay.
See you, sir.
bye.
Later, Howie.
Okay. See you in a bit.
Hey, thanks for watching Party Like a Rock Star. If you're not already subscribed to the Facebook or YouTube channels, do it. We're also on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The handle is Party of Stars. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.